for today's workshop. I will start by introducing myself. My name is Dal, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager at BigView. And I want to know who is with us today here. And so please write me in the chat where you're from and if you know BigView. And in the meanwhile, I just want to note that this workshop will be recorded and available for watching after the live event, so you don't have to worry about that. And at the end, there will be a Q&A session, so all of your questions will be answered. So please feel free to write in the chat any question that you have during the workshop. And today we will learn how to ensure your career thrives and not just survives, especially during COVID, as you know. And for this reason, I invited Ben Stirling, a managing director of an e-commerce company and the creator of the Career Accelerator. So Ben, the stage is yours. Hello, Ben.
Hello. Let me share my screen. Welcome, everyone. And I'm now going to just quickly bring up this presentation. So hopefully you can see this, but it's amazing to be here. And we go present for you. Great. So thank you. Yeah, Tal, very grateful to be here. And hopefully this will be of lots of value to everyone. As you said, today I want to take everyone through the topic of how to really ensure your career thrives, not just survives, particularly in an environment like COVID. So today we're going to go through a couple of right? One of those is making yourself important to your own company, but ultimately making yourself indispensable, because the more valuable you are, the more value you can create, and therefore the more reward for that you will achieve. The second is turning challenge into opportunity, and the recognition that some of our greatest successes in life and in our career actually come from moments of challenge. So if that's the position you're in now, there's a different way to look at that, and actually it could be your greatest opportunity. And the third one is keeping clear on your goals that matter to you, right? And that's in the form of a career map, something that not many people, only about 10%, take the time to actually do and achieve. And I want to talk you through that today as to why that's so important and how it will allow you to stand out from the crowd and ensure that your career thrives. So with that, let's get started. Now, the first thing I want to touch on is removing common false beliefs. So what are false beliefs? Well, false beliefs are often beliefs that we pick up and acquire on the way things are. We can inherit them from our parents, from our experiences, from other people. They can be things like, I can't play basketball because I'm not tall enough. Or I can't do that role because I don't have a degree. Or if I leave my company, I might not find another one. They are the classic scenario of fear, false evidence appearing real. There are people in the NBA who are under 6 foot, considerably under 6 foot. There are people that have roles and who are the MD of organizations who do not have the appropriate degrees that are typically required. And there are people that move company all the time. But we can build with a small amount of false evidence, a belief in something that can actually really hold us back in our careers. So today I want to strike off some of these false beliefs, right? And it starts with this one. So this false belief, which is status and financial reward come from tenure, right? This is something we grow up believing, and it was certainly part of the previous generation. You will most likely have heard of this in the form of things like, if I work hard enough, my company will spot my talent. You may not say it out loud, but you'll think it. Or once I've landed this big deal, then I can ask for promotion then. Or I have to work at least 3 years in this role to do that one. It might be true, but you don't want to wait 40 to 50 years to see if you're right. We all work hard and we all get results. It's what got us into the job we're in. But if you want better results, what you need to create for yourself is an absolutely clear path and map as to where you are and where you want to be. My epiphany was that the dice are loaded. And the reason I came to this is because you and I all know people who get promoted and they do not deserve it. So how do they achieve that? Well, I want to show you an example of how I believe that that is possible. Career paths, as I say, are not vertical. You need a map. In the previous generation, there was the classic saying of the career ladder. It doesn't matter if you're in your own company, it doesn't matter if you work for another company, but it's tenure equaled progression. And it's simply not true. It requires now to make progress a series of adaptable left moves, right moves, back moves, and forward moves. And you have to combine it with a level of hustle and hunger to make sure you maintain that hunger in order to make it through the maze. Fantastic book, Who Moved My Cheese, is a great example of this. But in today's world, careers are a maze. And in order to make your way through that effectively, you need a map, a view as to where you are and where you want to get, and to see the terrain in between. And notice I say map, not a plan. Why? Because plans change, right? We all have an idea of what we'd like to do, but we just need to know the terrain, because our plans will inevitably have to change. And the average tenure in a company nowadays is 2 to 4 years, right? So you need to be planning those next steps, because they're becoming more frequent. This idea of staying in a company for 50 years, it still can happen, but it's increasingly rare. So now I want to strike another one of these false beliefs off, right? Which is, when I get that next promotion or pay rise, I will be happy. Okay, we all have probably heard this, we've all probably thought this, and we've all probably thought it's true, even though we really know it's not. Because how long does that feeling last? How long do you feel like that? Really? Like a month? Or maybe 3 months max. But by then what happens? You're already spending the money and you're chasing that next big career move. So actually, that's something that we realize is not a reality. My epiphany came when I set the goal of becoming an MD within 10 years. I was so tunnel vision focused on this, and I'm going to show you my career trajectory wasn't a straight line, but I was so focused on it, I actually hit it within 9 years. But the reality was when I reached that level, I actually just then wanted more. I wanted to make even bigger decisions, and I wanted to do that at a global level, not just a single UK market level. I wanted to do it internationally. And so what I realized is that what makes us feel good is making progress. You can't control your company, but you can control the progress you make. And that is at an individual level. We are all responsible for our own personal growth and our development, and therefore we must own it and we must take control of it. So I want to give you a couple of examples now as to what a kind of classic expectation looks like. So the importance of personal progress and goal setting. Our expectation is usually this wonderful linear line. I'm at point A, and I want to get to point B. If you're in a company, that A might be, I'm in a sales exec role and I want to become a sales manager and manage a couple of people. Or if you're in your own company, it may well be, actually, I've just started my new business. I've got 5 to 10 clients. I want to have 100 clients, right? And then we have this kind of linear view of, I'm here, I want to get to there. But the question I want to ask you here is, can you make a side or even a backwards move in your career, but still grow and make progress? Of course you can. That's the benefit that you have. Now, what tends to happen is that people actually don't take control of that end direction. And what this means is they start in our middle row here, our passive row, in their position of, I'm a sales exec, for example. And as they move their way through their career, they get moved around. That might come in the form of your company saying, oh, we want you to work on another project, or we're going to just move you to a different division. You know, COVID's hit, we need to make everyone work differently. Now, that can mean you do move left, right, up and down, and you are being adaptable. But the problem is if you don't have a clear plan on the end outcome, you can end up in position C, not position B. And it's really impactful to remember this, and you should write this down. If you don't have a plan, then you're following someone else's. And guess how much they've got planned for you? And the answer is not much. The company starts deciding on your career within the next 3 years. The worst thing that can happen is you get good at the wrong thing. Every activity and skill has a value. And if you get good at the wrong skills, then your value is limited by that. So you must own that. And that's what we call an active career, right? That's where you start in point A. You expect that there will be change and adaptability. And Einstein said it best, those who adapt, change, and survive the best. but you end up in point B. It simply gives you the power to determine if you are asked to get involved in something else, you can stop and ask yourself, does this align with my end trajectory, my end destination? And if it doesn't, how do I ensure that I keep it on that track by adapting, changing, pushing back, asking for something to be slightly different, or asking to be involved in something else that does bring me to that end goal? Now, the third false belief I want to knock out for you, and I'm doing these because honestly, they're so common when I speak to people within their careers. I want to help by immediately just addressing these. And then we're going to go into an active tool together that we're going to do together. And if you do this one tool, I can promise you, you'll be ahead of 90% of the entire workforce. Right? And that is, I am not enough. That wonderful belief that comes up when we want to apply ourselves to something we haven't done before, or we want to apply for that promotion, but we have that sense of feeling like, oh, I don't want to ask because what if they say no, right? I'm not going to push that new company for a pay rise because I really like the job and I'd just be happy to have that. Or I'll stay in this role for 2 more years just to make sure I've got the right experience. These are all elements of fear because we tell ourselves that we are not enough as we are to step into that role. I have a question for you. I'm dyslexic and I found school really challenging. Did I have an excuse to fail? Absolutely. I could have used that my entire career. And actually, it was a believable foundation. The difference is I turned to it and said, this isn't my disadvantage, it's actually my advantage. What are the capabilities that dyslexia gave me that I can now utilize in a corporate environment to leverage those that other people do not have those skill sets and turn that into my very asset that I bring to an organization? Creative thinking, problem solving, all of these elements. And that change and twist is what actually has allowed me to achieve my career that I have today. So the message in there is, what I learned is that you have to put your natural abilities to work for you. What can I do better than 80% with only 20% of the effort? That's the question you should ask yourself. Write it down, right? What can I do better than 80% with only 20% of the effort? Imagine if that was your day role. How easy would your work be and how much more would you achieve? It's a small change, but if we implement that, it changes everything. So many people grow up doing the careers of their parents, becoming accountants or whatever it may be, because it's what they were expected to do. It's not what they wanted to do, and it's not what they're naturally good at. So I want to give you a very quick insight into my career, because you may say, oh, I can, see, it's great. You're an MD of an organization and, lucky for you. But I want you to realize that every career has its backstory, right? I was that very sales exec who was sitting in a company saying, I need to learn how to get to where I want to be because I want to earn a certain type of salary. I have a young family. I want to buy them a home. There's all of these items that I really want to achieve. So actually, I decided to build my own company, probably before I had enough knowledge that I could warrant off or take from a larger organization. But I started my own property company and it was going really well. However, in 2007, when the previous crash hit and it wiped the property market out, it took my company with it. Everything, my house, my home, took my kids out of school, everything. So I had to start again. And I was already now, kind of in my 30s. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to wait 50 years to now work in a corporate environment and get myself back up to a level where I want to be. I want to be there in the shortest possible time. And I want to do it with the greatest level of success. So I set about becoming obsessed from learning from people who had been successful in business, these wonderful people that seem to also achieve, but don't deserve to. What is it that makes people successful? How do people accelerate their progression and growth? And I condensed and captured all of that. A lot of that I'm going to share with you, these principles today. They're all taken from this. And I applied it. I created this career map for myself. And within a handful of years, I was already then a director of a growth for a digital marketing agency. I chose the right industry and the right company, and it accelerated my progression with their growth. And then fate behold, I then go skiing on my first ever company trip, and I broke my back and both my arms, putting me into some horrendous cast for 6 months. But the one thing that gave me, you may think that's a bad situation. It gave me 6 months time out again to look at my plan, to reflect on where I was and where I wanted to be, something that you don't get a lot of when you're in your career. You're so busy every day, you don't get that time to do that. So I took that time, I reviewed my plan, I learned more, I refined more, and then I reapplied it back to my career, and that was it. Within the next few short years, I became the MD of a multi-million-pound e-commerce business, and that's where I am today. And it's really important to understand that it's in those moments of adversity, in those moments of challenge, that on my personal level, I recognized that was in my greatest opportunity to translate that into a motivating force and to use it as my very reason to be successful. So now I want to give you a slightly lighter story on why a career map, which we're going to do together right now, is so important. And it starts with this very kind of like when I was back in the day, shall we say, when I was a bit younger, I drove through Australia, right? And I drove it in this wonderful Holden Kingswood car, right? This thing out of like a 70s, TV show, the winged back with chromes on it. Mine had this big iguana down the side of it. But I knew where my start point was, right? Our point A that we discussed. And I knew where my point B was. I wanted to get to Ayers Rock, the beautiful landmark in the middle of Australia, where you can literally stand and see, for miles around and almost the arch of the earth. It's such a beautiful flat landscape. But the challenge is I had a Holden Kingswood. Everyone else who does that drive typically has a 4x4, big monster trucks, even lorries, things like that. And I decided to take this, 1970s kind of family station wagon cruiser out into the outback, where there's kangaroos, spiders, snakes, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. And I had a really tight timeline. I had to do it within a week because I had to actually get there, get back, get the car dropped off, and then fly back home to the UK. But I couldn't not do it. It's a 37 plus hours drive through not normal terrain and not normal roads, but I knew where I wanted to get to. So I set off on this journey. Now, as we make our way through into, and I did it with my best friend, we make our way into the outback, and we're going past these big road freight trains. They're called road trains. They're the size of like a giant train, like 6 carriages deep, these trucks, and they're huge, right? They're just terrifying when they come rocketing past you at speed on a dusty road. And as we were going through, it was just getting dark, and a road train started coming the other way. So me and my friend were like, oh, let's give it some birth. Let's move over a little bit. We move over to the side of the road. And as it thunders past, it flicks this rock up that comes straight through the window between me and my best friend and straight into the back of the car. Now, after we got over the initial shock of this giant boulder coming through the window, we realized we couldn't drive with this half hanging out window. We actually had to kick it out with our feet. So we lifted our feet up, kicked out this window, and we push it out. Put it in the back, and we have to then change plan, right? We knew where we want to get to, but now we have to detour. The terrain has changed, right? So we find this village on a proper map. It wasn't like then I had my iPhone, I had a proper old school map. So I pinpointed this garage and said, we're going to go here. I don't know what the village is, but there's a garage. Let's go. So we set off. Sadly, it was getting dark, and you can imagine what happens when you have the headlights on and it's getting dark. All these wonderful creatures of the night start coming out, these bugs, they're flying in our face, in our eyes. If you've ever seen the movie Dumb and Dumber, it was exactly the same as that. Anyway, we pull into this town with my new complexion of bugs in my teeth, and we find this garage, and we say to the guy, look, we need you to help fix the windscreen. He said, don't worry, I can get another windscreen up for you tomorrow. Stay here. And I was like, great. I looked around the town. I'll be honest, I've seen the movie Wolf's Creek. I wasn't going to sleep in the town. I slept in the car, and we stayed the night. The next day, this kind man fixed the window for us, and then we drove on to our destination, Ayers Rock. Now, I tell you this because when we got there, it was the most incredible experience I've ever had. It was beautiful. But the point here is that your journey will change, right? Where you think you are now, where you want to be. It may be that you've lost your role during COVID. Maybe you've had to change role, change industry. Who knows what that change has had to be for you? But what I can tell you is that will always happen throughout your career. There will be changes, but it's even more important then that you know what your end destination is. Because as long as you have that focus in mind, you can adapt to the terrain, but you will always be pulling forward to where you want to be. So with that, I'm going to take you through this mapping out your bigger future tool, right? I really want you to do this with me because I can tell you this and you'll learn a little bit. You can do it and you'll learn a lot. And it be really effective for you moving forward, particularly in the environment we're in now. So we're going to go through these very simple 4 current stages. So if you've got a pen and paper, just grab it now, and we're going to write down the first one. The first one is I want you to write down what is your current status? Where are you right now in your career, right? I want you to think not about the good stuff. I actually want you to think about what's not right, okay? What is wrong with where you are now? Maybe you don't manage people and you really want to manage people, right? What parts of your career are not at the level you want? Maybe your salary isn't at the level you want. Maybe you want to just be employed by a specific type of company or employed at all. What is it that isn't where you want it to be today? Okay, we can all write the stuff. It's okay. It's not that bad. I want you to rip the Band-Aid off here and get a little bit painful, because you're going to use this as leverage. So I want you to get at least three things down now, right? Write down your current status. What 3 things can you write down now that you would like to be differently? How would you like your role to be different? Now, why do I ask you to write down things that are a little bit painful? Because there are 2 motivating forces in life. Pain, very simply, moves you faster than pleasure. If I ran a bath and it was nice and lukewarm and I said to my wife, I've run your bath, you can go and get in, she'd be like, lovely, thank you. I'll go and get in when I'm ready. If I ran a bath and it was scalding hot and she put her hand in the bath, how quickly would she move her hand out? A lot faster than the slow immersion of her getting in for a nice warm bath. We move far faster as human beings when something is painful. So if we can connect to something that's a little bit painful, right? Maybe it's the fact that you want to manage people. Maybe it's the fact that you want to be home more than you are. Now we all are home more than we'd like, maybe with COVID. But previously, that was what my desire was. I wanted to be at home more. So why is that painful? Because I miss my kids' bedtime every single day. That's painful for me. I wanted to change that. So capture those things, right? Associating pain and then pleasure will allow you to have short-term motivation from pain and long-term desirability from the pleasure. Because if we then capture down the things that are great about that, which is what we're going to do next, why would that be great to achieve? You're going to have the motivating force of pain and the desire of something that's pleasurable. So this is your second section, right? Write down the title. What does my best year ever look like? Underline it, right? Best year ever. So managing a team of 4 people, maybe it's earning a certain amount of money, 25, 50, 100, maybe it's 1 million, maybe it's 500,000. What is it for you that is the salary you want to get to? What's going to happen as soon as you think that is your brain's going to go, whoa, hold on, that's not achievable. So I want to touch on that in a minute. Work from home 2 days a week. What is it? Maybe work in the office at this moment 2 days a week. What does the best year ever look like? If you were to look back and say, I've had the best year ever in my career, what would have happened in order for that to happen? Now, what's going to stop you when you do this one, right? So 3 more things here. You've done your things that are painful. What does the best year look like? What's going to stop you is the size of your thinking. Okay, classic scenario by our man here on the right. We see others as this wonderful superhero image, and we see ourselves as this small mouse in comparison. But they've got this, they've got that degree. I don't have that experience. This is what we do all the time, and it's what stops us from making steps of boldness and bravery, because we see ourselves smaller than we really are. So if you struggle with that, if you struggle with putting down your best year ever because you think, you know what, it feels like too much of a stretch to put that. What I'll suggest you do is imagine you're painting a canvas and you were to paint everything in it that you would want. Maybe it's the house you want, the car you want, the career you want, the people you want to work with, the type of company, the environment of the company, or your company. How do you want that to look like? Paint that first. Then when you finish painting the head, put yourself in the easier way round. When we put ourselves in the middle first and then we paint what we want around us, we immediately are confined by the limitations of how we see the world today. And that will immediately reduce the vision as to where you want to get to, your destination. So our third section here, why are these goals important, right? Write this down. So why are these goals important to me? Underline that, and I want you to get 3 things down here, right? So when you add your why to goals, it's what will help you with long-term motivation. Again, I'm going to show you a little bit of an example of why this is so important. But what your job is here is I can put down some fairly generic answers. Managing people, I want to be a manager. But try and get a layer deeper, okay? what is the real impact of managing people? What is the real impact that money will really give you? For me, the impact of having money wasn't having money. It was to be able to provide my children with certain things that they wanted. I wanted to be able to send them to a certain school. I wanted to be able to provide a home for them to live in that they loved and they felt safe and secure in, because I didn't have those things. So I wanted to create things for them that they could have that perhaps I didn't, and that were really important to me and to them. So I call this going 3 levels deep. So when you get an answer here, right, it might be, I want more money. Ask yourself immediately, why do you want more money? To buy a bigger house. Why do you want to buy a bigger house? To create a safe haven for my kids. Why do you want to create a safe haven for your kids? Because I never had that level of security growing up. When you dig 3 layers deeper, you touch your real motivating force. The closer you can get to what really motivates and drives you is what will allow you to really achieve your goals. I can promise you, putting down, I want a Porsche, isn't going to be long-term motivational. It's not connected to who you are and why it's important to you personally. If it was even, if you really want to put down, I want a Porsche, then connect it to why do you want the Porsche? Because it'll help me meet the woman of my dreams. If you believe the woman of your dreams wants like someone with a Porsche, that's going to have a better effect than just the car itself. You have to connect it to something meaningful. So here's a really quick example for you, right? When I talk about this next layer down, 3 layers deep, right? If I met you in January and I said, hey, how's it going, John? I really, had a great Christmas. How was yours? Oh, it was fantastic, but I ate way too much food. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm on my way to the gym, in fact, because I need to lose at least, 2 stone, right? It's like, oh, okay, wow, that's a good, ambitious goal. If I saw John again in 6 months, what's the likelihood, if his motivation is just to burn off some of that Christmas food, to have the same determination to be going to the gym, the same frequency, the same drive in 6 months' time? Slim. We all know it's slim because we all do it. We join, we start going, we stop going, and then we think about cancelling again until next year. How about if we change the reason as to why it was important for John? What if when I met John, I said, hey, John, how are you? Oh, it's great. I had the best Christmas, but wow, did I eat too much? Okay. Where are you off to now? I'm on to the gym and I'm on a mission. I got to lose 2 stone. Wow. Why have you got to lose 2 stone? Because in 9 months, I get married. I know people that have a wedding date, have lost weight, and due to COVID have extended and put off the wedding date, and immediately in the act of doing so have regained the weight that they lost. It is so impactful when we have a compelling why. It could be going on holiday, it could be anything for you. But when you are clear on what it is, your ability to achieve that goal significantly increases. So get clear on why things are important to you. Each time you put something down, ask yourself 3 times, why have I put that? Now, number 4, closing the gap. So I want you to write down what capabilities are needed to achieve my goals. You've captured those goals, right? You understand why having a why is really important to having that as part of your goal process. Now we need to work out, how do we close the gap, right? Ordinary actions on a frequent basis, ordinary being books, speaking to people, acquiring knowledge, lead to extraordinary results, right? Like running a company, reaching that next level. It is not in the big strides that we make our greatest progress. It is in those small, frequent, ordinary actions repeated every single day that will lead us to transformational experiences. So what I want you to catch down here is what skills, which skills do you need and what knowledge do you need in order to achieve that goal? If I wanted to be the manager that I mentioned, getting agreement to mentor new starters when they join is probably an incredibly good step for me to make that progression, right? It's a small step forward. I'll build the experience, and then it's easy for me to transition into the management role in that company or another one. Maybe it was, getting the increase your closing rate, right? If I want to make more money, do I need to increase my sales rate by 15% or save 10% of my income? What is it that I need to do to order and to invest to make more money over the course of the year? What actions do you need to take? Now, often here, I really want to highlight this point, the importance of self-development. I personally paid once over $7,000 for a course. Why did I do that? Because it was a business course that actually secured me a role that had a salary increase of over 30%. So actually that investment felt like everything to me. It was more money than I had, but within 6 months, I had secured a role that had considerably paid me back for that investment. So when you think about what it is you want to achieve, closing the gap, courses are not everything. The next best thing, or even equally as good, and if available to you, is who? It's the people that you can ask for information. When we have a big idea, maybe it's setting up your own company, maybe it's just starting a new project, maybe it's creating a new team within a company. We get stuck. We have this wonderful idea of what we want to achieve, but we get stuck on how do I do it? How am I going to actually achieve that? So when you get stuck on that, ask yourself not how, ask yourself, who do I know that has already done this before? Here in my example, when you have a problem to solve, who has done it before? Find someone that has done it successfully. You don't want to learn from someone that has failed in it. They're only going to teach you how they failed. They're never going to teach you how to do it right. They will give you the solution. Now, if you want them to help you for free, the best way of getting people to help you is to inspire them with your why, which you were capturing earlier. Why is it important for you to achieve this goal? Most geniuses are inspired by a strong sense of why. When you're clear on what this is going to do and why it's important to you, the world, company, to helping people, they're much more likely to help you because they want to get in. Geniuses have this sense of achievement when it comes to helping people achieve big whys. So it's the easiest way to get information. Think who, not how. You'll procrastinate and get stuck otherwise on the how. So if you've filled out these 4 sections, you are now already significantly further ahead in having clarity. You can do this later. You don't have to do it obviously right now if you haven't finished it. Think about these later, but you've got something down. You've got these 4 elements. My current status, what's a bit painful right now? The second, what does the best year ever look like in my career? The third, why are these things important to me? The why. The fourth, what capabilities do I need in order to achieve them? We all have gaps. We all are consistently improving. So who can I get hold of to give me their insights into achieving my goals? So that gives you a really clear career map. Now, with that, I want to give you a couple of bits of extra bonus content. Never like people to go away without all the value I can possibly give them. So I've got a couple of bonus bits that I put in for you. The first one is, in today's market, the only certainty is change. Okay, so there are 2 fundamental things that I believe you need in order to make sure that you are able to navigate effectively this change that is happening. The first one is becoming indispensable and building an insurance policy, okay? So you need 2 different strategies. The first one is an indispensable strategy. So why should your company, the company that you're working for, why should they keep you? I put down 5 fundamental steps. The first one is, don't be a busy fool. It is not how much you do, it is what you do that matters. You need to know, what are your boss's primary objectives, what are your company's primary objectives, and how are you contributing? That leads us to our second point. Measurement matters. Are you driving value where it is being measured in the business? We can all work really hard, but if we're not contributing to what's being measured, it will not be noticed to the same degree as the things that matter to the company, particularly if your company's had to pivot or shift in the current climate. The third is add value outside of your role. If you're not involved in something that is directly being measured, how can you be a part and positively help out across the business to increase your perceived value in areas that are actually being monitored and being measured? The fourth one is be a part of the right projects. Companies, as we said in the measurement, companies have weighted focus on key initiatives that drive growth, right? Volunteer, put yourself forward for these things. Make sure you are a part of those things that are being monitored and being measured and are part of your bosses and your business's primary objectives. Volunteering your time is an incredible way to gain experience. And the fifth is to step up now, right? Act like you're already in the role that you want to be. It's easy to promote someone when they're already doing the role that they're asking for. Now, the second strategy you need is an insurance strategy. I call this the external. You have an internal strategy and you have your external one, right? The external strategy, times like you don't know, we don't know, I don't know what's going to happen, but there are going to be times for sure, like we saw in my journey to the Outback, when the best thing to do is to move externally, right? You may do all the right things in your company and they don't reflect and recognize your talent. And the best thing for you to do is to actually move, right? Sometimes a storm has to come to clear the path for the new journey, right? So you may need to move externally, and when your company maybe just doesn't operate anymore. So what you need to ensure is that you have options. Options are absolutely critical in today's world. Now, I'm not going to say networking here because it's not the right order. Building strong relationships is the way to see this. Where can you build relationships with others externally within areas of your expertise and interest? Maybe it's just in distributing and sharing knowledge and content on a subject, so you're building an audience. Maybe it's just once a week having a coffee with someone in another industry in a similar company to compare and share ideas. But when you start building strong relationships, only at that point, when you've added value, can you build this reciprocity, can you start to network. For me, the idea of a networking is when you actually want to leverage your relationships in order for your gain. So for example, I've built great relationships. Now I need to ask someone, hey, you're an expert in this area. I'm looking for a new position in this area. Could you help me by recommending who would be the best person to speak to? You can leverage your network because you've provided value and you've built reciprocity. Try and help others in this market. People need advice on how to create a CV, how to get, how to do well in an interview. There is so much value being sought at the moment. There will inevitably be an area that you are an expert in above everyone else. You may not think it, but you are. And I'm sure you could be helping other people to build that network in the end when you need it. Now, the second bit of bonus content I wanted to provide you today was the engine behind career acceleration is fueled by putting your natural abilities first. I mentioned this earlier, right? Now, I don't have time to go deep into this, and I know I'm probably going to be told by Tal in a minute that I need to hurry up. So I want to give you a high-level example. In sport, this never happens, right? No one gets good at the wrong thing. The worst thing, and you should write this down, the worst thing that can happen to you in your career is that you get good at the wrong thing. Now, what do I mean by that? In sport, this doesn't happen. What happens in sport? If you apply to be on the football team and you are terrible at football team, they move you to another team, right? The B team, C team, E team, whatever that may be. They don't keep you in it. They are very clear that you do not have the natural talent and they move you. Right? That's how it works, right? This doesn't happen in school life. In fact, it's the opposite happens in education. You're not very good at something, they'll put you into extra studying for that subject, and then they will give you as much support as they can to bring your average level up to that area. Maybe you just scraped through the exam, your parents are excited because now you get to be an accountant, and off you go. But it's not your natural ability. It is possible to end up in a career that you had never intended to be in. Of course, we can all do it. So I want to give you an example with a football story, right? Can two people that love the same sport be involved but have completely different natural abilities? Absolutely, they can, right? Abilities for these two people here. One is athletic. A natural requirement to be good at football is to have athletic ability. You can build as much skill and as much knowledge as you want. If you are not athletic, you will never be in the Premiership or the top teams, right, in the world. You have to have a natural athletic ability. It could be potentially put into any sport, but if you love football, you can build skills and knowledge on top. So what would be a good skill on top of athletic ability? Free kicks, learning how to dribble the ball, passing, whatever it may be. They are skills you can build on top of that natural ability. Knowledge would be learning how to strike the ball, how to do the free kick. How do I get that beautiful back and spin on the ball? These are the elements you add on top. The challenge I mentioned earlier is people get good at skills and knowledge. It's easy to build skills and knowledge in today's world because there's so much information. They don't build it on top of their natural ability, and it limits their career potential. Equally, here's our second person down at the bottom here. Now, they like football too, right? They have a passion for it. but their ability is an eye for talent. Would I recommend they become a football player? No, I wouldn't, because they're not an athletic naturally, and it's clear that they'd never make it to the degree or the level that they would want. However, if they have an eye for talent as a natural ability, they can spot people's natural strengths. What skills could they build on top of that? Well, probably someone who has a good eye for talent could be a coach, right? Could be someone that manages the team, could be someone that actually brings in the new talent, the new players, right? They build a skill on top of that being communication, really important for a trainer or a manager. Sometimes the communication's more shouting than it is anything else, but halftime speeches, right? How important is that? Really important, different skill set, but they need to build it. Knowledge, rules of the game. Totally different individuals, same criteria as in same industry, same sport, but totally different natural abilities, totally determine what type of skills, what type of knowledge they should build on top. So my point here that I really want to hit home for you is it's easy to get down into a career path that isn't in line with what we're naturally good at. And what I don't want you to do is to wait 40 years to realize that you got good at the wrong thing. You can always stop. You can always reflect. What are my natural abilities? What am I really good at? What skills and what knowledge do I need to build on top of that to become world-class premier? Because it is far easier to become world-class premier when you're building on a foundation of natural ability. And with that, I come to the end, and I wish you all an outstanding day. If you're in the UK, outstanding evening. Those in the US, an outstanding day, because I know it's earlier for you.
Okay, thank you, Ben, for the presentation. Feel free, everyone, to ask questions in the chat about the workshop or about Big View. We will answer your questions. So in the meanwhile, I will send you in the chat Big View's information and also Ben's information, his website and his email. And we had a question about the presentation, if you can send it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a blank version of the career map tool. So if anyone would like that, let Tal know, and I'll send that out as well. And then you can fill that in your own time.
Yeah, so first of all, this workshop, as I said in the beginning, will be recorded and available after if you want to watch it as many times as you want. And also, Ben can send me the template, and I will send it to you by the follow-up email. So you will have it, and you can try it yourself. I think this is it, unless you have more questions. I think you had a lot of compliments about the presentation.
Oh, good. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, they can reach out here, or I'm on LinkedIn, whatever's easier for people.
Yeah, people said that they lost their job because of COVID, and it's really great tip and can help them. So yeah, thank you so much, Ben, and thank you all of you for watching, and see you in the next workshop.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, you have a question, actually.
Oh, go on then. How do we handle procrastination? So it's a great question, and I think procrastination is something that all of us experience, and I'd probably revert straight back to the asking who slide. Procrastination tends to appear when we're not clear on exactly how to execute something. We've all had big ideas about, maybe you wanted to, you have this idea. I did this the other day, thought of this amazing app that I could create, but I know nothing about app building. And so you get stuck on the how you're going to do it. So the first thing I did is just stop immediately and say, don't get stuck on this. Like if I dig into the how, I'm just going to become demotivated. I was like, who do I know who's built an app, and who can I go and ask? And go and ask them, how did they get their app to market? What's involved? Immediately, I came away from the conversation feeling really motivated, really clear on the kind of 4 milestones that I wanted to map out. And you can build a series of who's, right? Because when you've got a big project, okay, you're starting at the position A, and let's just say launching my app is the end position B. Break it into mini sections, right? The first thing is just, how would I create the concept, right? Who do I know that's created a concept? I ask them that. Then I've reached my first milestone, right? Making progress, feel good, tick it off, right? Second thing is then Maybe it's taking it from an idea to actually finding development team. Who do I know that knows development resource? Who can I ask and build an understanding? Then I can get to my next milestone. So if you break it into these milestones, you'll make that fundamental important element, which is progress. I promise you that the one thing I've learned in my career is never what I've achieved or what I've been able to buy or whatever it is. To success is typically defined as on Instagram and other things. It's in the progress I've made as a human being. It's learning how to overcome things, learning knowledge, and making personal growth and progress through always learning. It's the only thing that makes me feel good. If I don't feel good in today's world and I feel like I'm procrastinating on something, it's typically because I'm stuck on how to do it. And so immediately I stop and I find someone who has done it and I go and ask them how.
Great answer. Okay, I think all of the questions relate to the presentation, so don't worry, we'll share it. And I will thank all of you and see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.